name's Teresa. I am one of the librarians here at the library who works primarily in the children's department. The kind of books that I like to read are, I love science fiction, I like adventure, fantasy, I like any book with a mystery or a puzzle to solve, and books with interesting settings or characters that are really different from me.
Hi, I'm Steven. I work in the teen department here at the library. I like all kinds of books, but my favorite kinds are graphic novels, adventure stories, and really any book that's really old.
Hi, my name is Miss Abby, and I'm the Youth Services Manager at the new Albany-Floyd County Public Library. You will find me sometimes in the children's room and sometimes in the teen scene, and I like reading all kinds of things, but I especially like reading non-fiction and realistic fiction.
Okay, this book is called How I Became a Ghost by Tingle. So this is historical fiction. It is about a boy named Isaac, who is Choctaw. It's a tribe of Native Americans, living in about 1830. So it's a long time ago, maybe Little House on the Prairie time period, earlier than that even. Isaac lives in a house with his mom and dad and his brother and his dog in the Choctaw lands, which are in the southeast, like what would now be Georgia. They've lived there for generations, his people have, but more recently there are these white men, settlers and soldiers that have been trying to come onto their land and take their land, and they've been in these treaty negotiations. But Isaac starts having these visions, and one of his visions is he keeps seeing like fire and buildings on fire and people having to run out of the buildings. And then one night, the soldiers come to the Choctaw village and they set everything on fire, all the buildings and homes. And Isaac and his family and all the rest of the people have to run away. They run into the forest. It's winter time. It's very cold. And Isaac's having another vision. He's seeing people who are very sick. And then these soldiers come and they offer blankets to these freezing Choctaw people who take them, although Isaac's parents tell him not to take them. They don't trust these soldiers. And it's a good thing because these blankets are infected with a deadly disease. And so all these Choctaw people start getting really sick. And as you can see, Isaac's visions are coming true. And then the soldiers, they order all these Choctaw people to walk. They have to walk a very long way, a very hard road, all the way from what is now Georgia to what is now Oklahoma. They have to really walk a long way. This was called the Trail of Tears. So this is a real historical event that maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. And this recounts the beginning of that. So this book is the first in a series. I think there are going to be more. But as for Isaac's visions, Isaac learns that he can see ghosts and he can talk to ghosts. And he also learns that he is going to become a ghost very soon. So if you've never read a book where you know the main character is going to die and become a ghost, this is a very interesting book, and that's your chance to read it. So if you like historical fiction, if you like adventure, this would be a great one for you. It's called How I Became a Ghost by Tingle. And Tingle is also Choctaw, by the way. The author of the book is Choctaw. So he's kind of writing about his great-great-great-grandfather.
This book is called The Fairy Ring, or Elsie and Francis Fool the World, a true story by Mary Losure. So it's a non-fiction book. It's based on something that really happened in England about 100 years ago. Back then, World War I was going on. They called it the Great War, and Elsie's father went to go fight in the Great War, and she and her mother went to go stay with Uncle Arthur, Aunt Polly, and Elsie's cousin Francis. So Francis took Elsie to her favorite place in this woods. It was a stream and a waterfall, and then she told Elsie a secret, that one time she saw tiny little men walking through the willows, and they're real fairies. Later, Francis sees more fairies, but when the grown-ups find out, they make fun of Francis. So Francis tells her father that if he'll let her borrow his camera, then she and Elsie will take pictures of the fairies and prove that fairies are real. What the grown-ups didn't know is Elsie was a very talented artist, so she would paint pictures of the fairies and cut them out onto paper. And back then, taking pictures was a little bit different than it is now. You don't just have like a smartphone or a digital camera. You had to have this big sheet of glass and stick it in the camera in order to take the picture. So they put the pictures of the fairies on the glass, stuck that in the camera, and when they took the pictures, the drawings that Elsie had made showed up on the actual picture. and it looked like real fairies, or at least that's what people thought. You can judge for yourself. So I don't know if you think these pictures look real or not. Would you have fallen for this if you had seen these photographs? Does that look like real fairies? Well, the grown-ups at the time certainly thought so. Remember, photography was really pretty new back then, and so they thought these were real photographs, and the girls were feeling pretty good because they tricked the grown-ups. But one day, they saw the photographs in the newspaper, and people were starting to talk about it all over town. It's in the local news. Do you think the girls should tell the truth at that point? Should they say that they faked the pictures? What would you do? What about when it's starting to be talked about all over the country and it's in the national newspapers? Do you think the girls should tell the truth? What about when they get a letter from a famous writer, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, and he says he believes in the fairies and he's coming to visit them so he can investigate for himself? What would you do? Would you tell the truth? Do the girls tell the truth? Or can they hoodwink the man who invented the famous detective Sherlock Holmes? Or do they decide it's time to tell the truth? You'll have to read The Fairy Ring to find out what happens.
The Jumbies by Tracey, Baptiste. On Corinne's island home, people often talk about the Jumbies, evil spirits that live in the mahogany forests and cause trouble for people who cross their paths. So you may have heard of supernatural creatures like werewolves, vampires, and zombies. In Corinne's island home, they call them Jumbies, and there are many different kinds of Jumbies that are said to live there. There are the Dwens. Dwens are spirit children that travel in packs and have backwards knees and feet. If they know your name, then they will call you, and they'll sound just like your mom or your dad calling you so that you'll go to them. And if they get you, then they turn you into one of them, and you have to wander around as a Dwen for the rest of your days. Then there are the Lajables. Lajables are beautiful women who wear big fancy white hats and long white dresses to cover their feet. The reason they wear long white dresses to cover their feet is because the way that you tell a Lajables is that instead of two lady feet, a Lajables has one lady foot and one cow's hoof. And Lajables are kind of like sirens, so they lure people into the mahogany forest so that they wander around lost forever. So if you see a pretty lady on the side of the road and she looks like she needs help, make sure you look at both her feet before you stop. Then there are the Sukuya. Sukuya are old ladies who take off their skin, leave it in a nice, safe place, and then fly around in a ball of flame, sucking people's blood. You may have sometimes woken up with Sukuya bites, but they look an awful lot like mosquito bites, so it's hard to tell for sure. Now, Corinne, she doesn't believe in Jumbies. She thinks that's just made-up stories, made up to scare little kids. But one day, some trickster boys steal her mother's necklace, the necklace that her mother left for her. And Corinne, to get her necklace back, she ventures into the mahogany forest. Even though she knows that's a place you're never supposed to go, she goes in there. And when she comes out, something follows her out. In the Jumbies, Corinne will face the worst Jumbie anyone has ever seen on her island. A Jumbie bent on taking Corinne and her father. A Jumbie who will stop at nothing to get her revenge. If you like creepy stories, if you're brave enough to face the things that go bump in the night, then pick up The Jumbies by Tracey, Baptiste.
Okay, this book is called Zombiekins by Kevin Bolger. And this is a book about a boy named Stanley. He lives in this town called Dementityville, which is a really boring town. Nothing ever happens. The only interesting thing is there is this one old lady named the Widow Imovich who lives in this creepy house on top of a hill, and everyone's afraid to trick-or-treat there. So she's kind of interesting and creepy. And one day she decides to have a yard sale. So all the people from the town are kind of interested in what she's selling in the yard sale, and Stanley goes, and he does find one thing there. He finds this thing called Zombiekins. So it's like a stuffed animal, kind of like a teddy bear, but it has a bunny ear for some reason, and it has these webbed paws with sharp claws, and like lizard feet and like creepy eyes and little fangs instead of buck teeth. And the widow Imovich tells him, like, if you're going to buy Zombiekins, make sure that you read the instructions. Make sure that you read them. And so what do you think Stanley does? He does not read them. He throws them in the trash. And this is unfortunate because Zombiekins also has a special power that he turns people into zombies. And when this starts happening, Stanley has no idea how this is happening or how he can stop it, because now people that he knows at school are getting turned into zombies. What is he going to do? So you'll have to read to find out how he solves that problem. But this is a great one if you like creepy books or scary books, but maybe you also like funny books, because this is definitely both. It is kind of creepy and kind of spooky, but it is very funny at the same time. And the illustrator, Aaron Blecha, does some great illustrations throughout the book. So it's a chapter book, but some of the pages have these great illustrations. So, scary, funny, if that's your thing, definitely pick up Zombiekins by Kevin Bolger.
So the book I'm going to tell you about today is called Fable Comics. So it has a lot of fables in comic form. And do you all know what a fable is? Maybe you studied it in school, you studied folklore, so you probably know. A fable is a type of folk story that teaches important lessons, and these lessons usually come from nature, so animals, trees, rocks, and all the things around us. The most famous collection of fables was written by a man named Aesop, and he lived about 2,000 years ago. So a lot of his stories are in here, and you're probably familiar with a lot of them, like the town mouse and the country mouse, the boy who cried wolf, the grasshopper and the ants, and the tortoise and the hare. I'm going to read you one called The Fox and the Grapes.
La-dee-doo-da-diddly-dee-dum. What a happy day for a stroll. Nothing could possibly make this day any better. It's perfect. Wait, what's that? Grapes? Sweet, juicy grapes. Happy little foxes love sweet, juicy grapes. Is today my secret magic birthday or something? Ha ha ha! Happy birthday to me! Jump into my mouth, yummy grapes! So you want to get tricky, huh? Trying to keep my birthday present all to yourself, huh? How about I do a little fox kung fu on you? Hi-ya! Ninja grapes. I should have known. Well, you won't defeat me that easily. Little foxes don't give up. Activate jetpack. Ha ha ha! Ouch. Meh. Dumb ninja grapes are probably sour anyway. Whew, it's hot today.
In this book, you'll find tales from all over the world. Africa, China, America, Russia, India. Stories told in lots of different styles. So some are funny, some are more serious, and of course they all teach an important moral lesson. So no matter what you like, you're sure to find something great in Fable Comics.
Thanks so much for listening today. I hope that you heard about a book that sounded good to you. If you did, remember that you can check out all of these books for free at the New Albany-Floyd County Public Library. If you didn't hear about a book today that you really thought you would like, then I want you to still come down and see us at the library, because we're happy to help you find any kind of book that you would like to read. And if you don't have a library card, remember that you can get a free New Albany-Floyd County Library card. Just come down to the library anytime that the library is open. Make sure that you have a parent or guardian with you to sign for your card, and we'll get you all set up. So thank you so much for listening, and we hope to see you at the library.